What's up everyone, Steven here from TechMaker TV. In this episode, I want to go through a cool new project that I've been playing around with called aleph.im. Aleph.im is aiming to be sort of a decentralized AWS or something like that down the road. Right now, they have a really cool decentralized database that I've been playing with. It's pretty neat. You can basically do things like this where if you hit enter here, you'll see that it shows up over here. So this, I'm basically posting through my command line to a decentralized database, and it's showing up here. We can see over here on their Network Explorer that my post request I just submitted shows up, and it's showing greetings from TechMaker TV. So I'm going to show you how to set all this up, what all you can do with it, and kind of where I think it's going. And with that said, let's kind of get into it. If you've been following the channel, you know that we've been out for a little bit, and basically we decided that we needed to focus 100% on this SaaS product that we've been developing, and that's been going really, really well. Once we get a little further down the road, I'll tell you more about it, show you some more demos and this sort of thing, so you can kind of see what we've been up to. But in the meantime, I've been researching a lot of new technologies. We've been learning a lot of new stuff about Rails. I've been learning some stuff with node.js. So I've got a lot of episodes that I've kind of been working on putting together and planning out. So be on the lookout for all of that. Now this episode is going to be a bit different. So we're going to dive into, in some of the videos coming up, into some crypto projects, which I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about. But here's the deal. So I got into crypto development back in 2017 and worked on a bunch of interesting projects, and kind of got out of it because some of the people that we worked with were super legit, and if any of you are listening, you know who you are. But we also got involved with some other projects that turned out to be some pretty big scams, and I just kind of got burned out. But now that crypto is kind of making a comeback, I've been digging in and researching some new projects, and I think there's some really interesting stuff that developers need to pay attention to. So over the next few months, whatever happens in the market, I don't really care. I'm going to be putting out some content, digging into and playing around with some projects that I think are interesting and showing you how you might think about using them. And discussing a little bit when it would be relevant to use them. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the episode. So the first project that I want to take a look at is this aleph.im. And I've actually been playing around with this a little bit, and I'm pretty excited about it. And I think I'm going to build out a couple of interesting project ideas in videos on this just because I think it's cool. But basically what it is, or it's intending to be, is decentralized cloud computing. Now, I don't fully understand how that's all going to play out. I know that it doesn't look like all of the different aspects of like AWS are already covered or anything like that. What they have right now is more like a decentralized data store. Now, as we'll see, that's sort of underselling it, but instead of trying to explain it, because you can kind of read up on it on the website here, I actually want to just run through one of the examples. So if we go up here to the top and go to the developers tab. Now keep in mind, like, a lot of this is pretty early in development, I think, but still kind of cool. So what I want to look at is this dApp examples, which stands for decentralized application, if you're not familiar. I want to go ahead and pop over to their GitHub, and I want to go ahead and just run this simple dApp and see what it does. Okay, so I'm over here in my episodes directory, so whatever directory you're in, I'm going to make one called Aleph, and then we'll cd down into Aleph. And then over here, I'm going to copy this URL and we'll clone it. Once we have that, we'll change down into it. And then if we scroll down in the docs here, it's not a lot to say, but it's yarn install. And once that finishes, we just need to do yarn serve. So that should take just a second. And let's see what happens here. So looks like we've got a server running on localhost 8080. Okay, cool. So you can see basically we have a chat room or several chat rooms here. We can click on these and see different messages coming in. And again, we're running this on our local computer, but we're pulling in something from somewhere else, which we'll get to in a second. We've also got all of these logins up here with different blockchains. So for example, if we click register on Ethereum, it's going to say these are your mnemonics or mnemonics. I don't really know what the right pronunciation of that is. But anyway, so that's basically going to just log us in. And then once we're logged in, we can write a message. Hello from techmaker.tv. And now you can see that shows up here. So not only does it show up here, if we go to explorer.aleph.im, and let me make this a little bit bigger here. So if we click on this, I think this is probably us 2 minutes ago doing this post request. So if we come down, you can see that we've got the channel, or I guess that's the techies room, and then we've got our message in there. So we're going to dig into the code in just a second, actually, but I want to just point out, if we go back to this general dashboard, you can see there's a lot of other requests that are coming in. You can see some stats about different addresses and so on. So basically this is a decentralized data network. So as we'll see, what's interesting about this is you could actually build your own front end for this chat application and just hook into the data feed, and you would have messages showing up and rooms showing up potentially in your app, before you even onboard any users. So any user who comes into your app would already have people to talk to, which is kind of an interesting idea. So before we go any further, let's go look at the code, because that's typically how I learn best, is actually to jump into the code and look things over. So let me change down into my Aleph project here, and we'll open this up and just kind of take a look at this. So I have looked at this a little bit earlier, and I can tell you that it's in Vue.js, which I actually don't even know. But this is very simple. Okay, it's telling me I can install some extensions here, so let's do that really quick. So that I guess this is going to do syntax highlighting. Okay, cool, so that looks better now. Let's close all these warnings. Okay, so we can see the structure of the page here. So you've got all the different logins and so on and so forth. What I'm really interested in is the JavaScript. So down here we're importing a bunch of stuff from aleph.js. So there's a JavaScript library. We're connecting to an API server and some network ID. And the two interesting things, well, before we go on further, this API server thing, if I'm understanding this correctly, anybody can run their own API server. So you could set up an API server on the network and then just talk to that directly. I think that, it's one of these crypto projects. I think you have to hold a certain number of tokens in order to be a part of the network or something. I don't know exactly. I'll have to study on that a little bit more, but it's some sort of, incentive structure to make sure that your node continues to be a part of the network or something. I don't exactly know all about that, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but my point is you don't just have to deal with aleph.im directly. There's other servers that you can be a part of potentially. But if we go down here, you can see we have this first get messages right here. So basically we're calling posts, which we're importing from the Aleph library up here. And then on posts, we're calling get posts. We're specifying the chat, and then we're saying refs, this room, API server, API server. So if we look at back over here at this network thing, so if I can click on that, you can see that we have chat as the type and then refs here. So my understanding is basically what you can do is, like, let's say you wanted to create some sort of blog syndication network or something like that. You could sort of design your own interface here by doing some sort of namespace, whatever that looks like, and then you can use this ref sort of as like categorization or whatever. And then I think once you drill down and you have like sub-level things, like so you say you have comments or whatever, I think you could have something where like you have the ref point back at a blog post in your network or something like that. I don't exactly have the full picture of how all the queries work here, but anyway, let's keep going. So we'll kind of get a little bit better idea. And as I learn more, I'm probably going to put out some more content about this. So in any case, the next thing that I want to look at is the actual post. So if we scroll on down to, where is it? Broadcast, I think, is the one that we're interested in. So you have this post.submit. So I think that any addition or a typical addition to the network, like you're creating a message or whatever, I think it's just all called a post, probably named after like a post request. I think there's another thing called amends, which is like an update. We'll get some clarity on all that later, but in any case, you can see basically here you have this post.submit. It takes an account address, which whenever you log in, it's creating an account on whatever various blockchain you're interested in. So this is interoperable with all these different blockchains. So if you log in with Polkadot or Ethereum or whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as you have an account with a valid address, and then you're able to, submit it to this type or channel. Not really sure what the exact terminology is. Then you give it what looks like the content, and then you have to supply some sort of extra data, like the API server, the account, the channel, so on and so forth. So what is the channel? Just to get a little bit of clarity here. Channel is test. Okay. So let's jump into the node console and kind of play around with this and see what we can get going. So let me clear this up and we'll do node. And we need, I think it's experimental async await, I think is what it is. Bad option. No, what is that? Let me go look at that really quick. So it's node, start REPL with async. There's some flag we can give it. Experimental REPL await. Node experimental REPL await. Okay, cool. So now let's go back and look at this code really quick. So I'm in the same directory as the project, so I should be able to require aleph.js. Okay, so you can see a bunch of functions there. So we'll say const aleph equals that thing. Okay, so instead of importing the way they do over here, we're going to have to call like aleph.post all the time because we're not importing it exactly the same way. But let's try to pull back the messages. So I want to just run this get messages. So we'll say let result equal, and then we need to say await, which is why we added that that flag, because you can't normally use await the way that you normally would in the node REPL. So what I want to do is say aleph.post.getPosts, and then we can say chat, and we need to say refs, like that, and then this dot room. So I think we were in the hall room. Let's go back to the browser really quick and look. So we said that on techies. So let's go back to the code there. So I'm going to say techies and API server. Let's see, API server. And what is the API server again? It's this. I'm going to set that to a variable in a second, so we don't have to type that over and over. But that looks like it. So see what that does. Do I get a result here? Okay, so you can see when I type result again, after you wait a second, we get back a bunch of stuff. So we say result dot. If we go back down here, You know what, before I forget, let me go ahead and set this to a variable. So I'm just going to copy this API server thing. Okay, so down here we've got our result. So this .post is result.post. So if we say result.post length, so there's 3, so that's what's on the page. Let's look at the first one because I think these are sorted in most recent order. So you can see here we have content body hello from techmaker.tv, so that's us. So we're pulling back from that database. So I personally ran into some issues and paused the video and rolled back a little bit because I think I'm on the wrong version, or maybe this dApp has an older version of the JS. So when I started trying to create an account, it kind of freaked out on me. So I think this needs to be 0.4.3. So let's save that in our JSON. I think they may just have an outdated version of their JavaScript in here. So I'm going to bump that to 4.3 and then run yarn install and see what happens here. Okay, so it looks like that worked. I'm going to pull this up a little bit. So let's cycle up and run our node experimental thing again here. And let's do, let's just kind of say const aleph equals require aleph.js unexpected token. Okay, so now let's do aleph dot, I'm just going to skip to the part that was blown up on me, ethereum dot new account, and I need to do account equals await, and let's see what we have for our account. Cool, so now it's working. So it was just a version issue. So basically what we did here is we just created a new Ethereum account, and so obviously if you ever see anything on a screen, don't use it, because that means anybody else who watches this video also has access to that private key, and they will take all your money if you put any real stuff in there. But with that said, let's kind of cycle back up through and let's see what we were able to do. So we set up this API server there. Let's just double check that we're still pulling back the results. If I still have all this around, let result equal that. Okay, so result dot posts, and then let's look at the last one, and that might be us. In theory, other people could be using this. Where do we see that? Yeah, so here it is, hello from techmaker.tv. Cool, so now that we have an account, we should be able to go ahead and try to actually create a post. Okay, so let's try to do that. Alright, so where was that at? That was in this broadcast, right? So let's just see if we can kind of patch this together. So the channel is test. I saw that earlier, all caps. Okay. We have the API server. The room is going to be techies. And account is account. So what we can do is say let, I should say let room equal techies here. What we can do is say let message equal await post.submit, and then we have account.address. We have chat, which is the I guess the type or the channel. Not 100. No, it's not the channel. I gotta get the terminology right. The next thing we need to put in here is the content. So we're gonna just say, and I think this could be any JSON potentially. So we're gonna just kind of follow this format, and then here we can say something like hi from REPL in Tech Maker video, something like that. Let's see what else. So now we need the API server. So we're closing that off. Now we just need to say ref is room. We can say API server is API server. I think. And then account is account, and channel is channel. Looks like we have all of that set up right. So let's try this and see what happens. So if I hit enter here, syntax error, await is only... So I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but I don't really think we care about the return from that. So I'm just going to try to run it without awaiting. This isn't really, we're not building anything here, we're just experimenting. So let's just see. So I'm missing a parenthesis somewhere. Where would that be? Post.submit. Hold on a second. I did not open a new bracket before ref. Looks like. Okay. Let's try that. Posts is undefined. Alright, so sorry for having to cycle back through all this, but I have to put aleph at the beginning. Somebody's probably going to comment and tell me there's a faster way to do this, and that would be appreciated. I'll probably Google it after this anyway. Okay, so aleph.post.submit, we get a promise pending. So let's go check our browser really quick. So let's click over here on Techies. And so we see here hi from REPL and TechMaker video showed up automatically. So let's kind of, can I like click on this somehow? Yeah, there we go. I can like alt click. That's way faster. Okay, so we're gonna be in chat no matter what, I think. But I think if we change like ref here to hall, and then we change, well, don't want to spam everybody with the exact same message, even though it's testing here. So we'll just say hi again. Let's go ahead and change over to the hall, and then let's just hit enter over here. And you see hi again pops up immediately. Okay, so I think this is interesting because, you know, like, first of all, let me leave that where it was so that we see that it's not doing anything over here if we change this up a bit. But what I think is possible is, like, so the channel, I think, is something to do with the node. So I don't think we need to mess with that. API server is the same thing. This ref, we can make whatever we want. So if we make this ASDF and then we post to it, that's not going to show up anywhere. And that makes sense because they're not doing anything in the front end that would pull back from that ref. However, if we, where is it? If we pull back from ASDF, results.posts, we'll see that we've got hi again coming back like this. So we basically just created our own ref there. I think we can do the same thing if we say like right here, if we said like my chat, and now if we pull back, instead of chat, if we say, oop, not that, if we say like my chat, and then we do result.posts, and so you'll see there we've got the type is my chat and we have content is there. If we come back over here to the Explorer, wherever that was, let's go general dashboard. So this is all us blowing up the thing here, I think. But if we come in here and we see type my chat, hi again. So what I think is cool about this, and I think I've got an idea for a series that I want to do on creating some sort of like blog syndication or something. I think basically what you can do, you can put any JSON you want inside of this item content here, and then I think you can basically define the database namespace or whatever with, like, you know, this type, and then you have this ref thing you can use for filtering and probably assigning references to like parent objects or something like that. So it's kind of a abstract structure, and we'll probably have to get a little bit creative, but I think that could be kind of cool. I think that's it for this episode. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you don't want to see more content like this, I guess just ignore the stuff that comes out that you don't want to see. We're going to be putting out a lot more Rails content because we're still doing a lot of Rails work, and I know a lot of people here are interested in Rails. But in any case, thanks for watching if you made it to this point, and I'll talk to you next time.